Friends, hello, welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. So, there are rumors, there are reports that the Boston Bruins got on the phone with Vancouver, talked to them, have interest and showed interest in Vancouver Canucks centers Elias Pettersson and Vancouver Canucks center JT Miller. Now, obviously, I think there's a lot more play here with JT Miller potentially moving. Pettersson, they probably laughed at that, but maybe they did. No, they laughed at that. Maybe they didn't. And you wonder if the Boston Bruins truly was going to trade and get JT Miller, they was going to get Elias Pettersson, what would they need to send in return? Just looking at the Vancouver Canucks team, you have Hughes, you have Hronik, you have Myers, you have Brandstrom and company over here. And on offense, you just look and say, it just makes the most sense where they would want to just obviously deal one of these. We live in the world of fantasy, though. They're dealing both today. Well, what's it going to look like? And the reason I think you say it makes sense is because if you trade them both, then all of a sudden you're going to need, you need a center. You need two, because you just went and dropped both centers. It's hard to come across centers. They're only going to want to get rid of one of those and only if you look and say, hey, you know what? Actually, we're willing to. Wow, JT Miller's got what? JT Miller's got more trade value than Elias Pettersson in this game, and he's got a no movement clause. Good luck respecting that no movement clause. All right, well, bless thy EA for making a game more realistic, putting no movement clauses in. But don't worry, we fixed it. We aren't about that realistic life around here. I gotta say, I have not played franchise mode clearly much at all this season because forgot all about that little tinker into the addition here. Man, we gotta why are we not playing so much franchise mode? I don't know, something about we got away from. I think the problem is we've actually played the game. We've actually been playing these HUD objectives and stuff this year. We played some Warded Shell. I don't want to say play. Yeah, I guess playing the game because franchise mode's more of a menu thing. So actually playing the game this year, and I've actually enjoyed doing it. So I think that kind of has cut into a lot of the time where it does. It takes time to make the franchise videos. Hour and a half, whatever it is. But just recording the video alone. Nonetheless, there's Pettersson. There's Pettersson. There is JT Miller. They cost a pretty penny. They are under contract for a very long time, 8 more years. For Pettersson, it'll be 7 after this season, of course. 6'2", 176, the 25-year young, and that's why it seems like it'd be so difficult. JT, on the other hand, he's been elite, but a lot of talks about how he behaves in a locker room. Ready to move on from him. Got to do what you got to do. Boston says, hey, we can figure it out, but where do we start? Boston, you're gonna have to give them somebody big. There's no question about that. We might as well we'll start swinging. Y'all know how to develop the defenseman. You clearly would like a little help somewhere else. Is this where we start? Do we start at Charlie McAvoy, the 26-year-old? I don't think you would ever, and I mean ever, touch Pettersson without giving up a young prospect of your own. And in this case, you say, hey, I think we can develop more. And Boston and Vancouver said in exchange for Pettersson, in exchange for Miller, we know David Pastrnak is our guy. He is 28 years old, pushing 30. JT can play alongside of him. Pettersson can be this core. We'll worry about the rest later. We're trying to maximize this team right now. Boy, is it tough, though, to look at that and look straight in the face and say we would deal Charlie McAvoy. Now we have to look at the center position. They're going to have to fill this. They're going to get 2. So, ship any out the door. You want Lindholm, take him. That's going to put him at 7. 7.7 and 9.5. Boston will still be over the league maximum salary cap by about $1 million. What? Dang, the cap's up to $88 million. Good for the cap. And now you look. At the pieces that you would potentially add if you're the Bruins. Charlie's big. Would you put... No, I don't think so. I was going to say, would you put the value of McAvoy above Pettersson? But I don't think you do. And for that, you have to be able to say, all right, we can do that. Maybe they look and say, do you look at Charlie Coyle? Do you... if you're Boston, what else are you bringing to this table? And if you're Vancouver, you want to win now too. You aren't trying to restart completely. Maybe you offer them a depth center and a guy like Kostelic, who's 25, a little younger, got some potential still. Boston would still be over the league maximum salary cap by about $183,000. And that is going to make things very difficult for this team, because who is going to retain salary? It'd probably be on Miller, because it's a little bit lower. They don't have to retain a lot. Would they retain that salary? Vancouver would have traded more than 3 players with retained salary. Okay, so they cannot retain any salary. That is going to make things just a little bit more interesting. You're going to have to trade a guy that is over 180, 835. Essentially, you're going to throw in a guy that's about $1 million. I mean, is 925? I don't think 925 is going to be enough. You're going to be just short, right? And would you throw them another young defenseman? I don't think you would if you're Boston. No, they would just be under barely. So we do have to get a guy that's about $1 million. Really threading the needle here. What they could do, I guess technically, theoretically speaking, is they could throw a couple guys onto this deal, get them where they need to be. But where would that put Vancouver as far as players are concerned? Let's look at... I mean, we got a couple guys here. We could throw him Jones, 26 years young, the winger, a little bit of a depth piece, a little bit of an add-on there in Jones. I think they could do that. We'd say give him Max Jones. Very doable. Boston would be over the maximum salary cap. Okay, very not doable. Nothing's counting towards the cap for this guy, or what? Guess we're not going to be doing that one. We'll try again. At this point, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to these younger players. These guys, y'all disposable. Every single one of you. Oh, whatever we got to do to get this trade to work. You just earned some rewards points. Thank you. Oh, this trade's approved. That's great. So that's the trade. Not enough. I would assume McAvoy and Lindholm, Wahlstrom for Pettersson and Miller is not enough. The meter looks far too small. We are going to start here. The trade is rejected. Not even close. Boston, you are going to have to, without question, I think, throw on. Oh, it's backwards. I was really confused. I was saying we don't have any draft picks for this long. What's Boston been doing? We're going to have to throw in a first round draft pick. And now are we starting to knock on the door of possibility for Pettersson and for Miller? They are saying no. No, you are not. It is going to cost you way more than that. We'll throw on a second. They are still saying no. We'll throw on one more first round draft pick. You are allowed to trade the future when you are getting the future in return. If you're the Boston Bruins, here we go. 2 first, Lindholm, McAvoy, and Wahlstrom. Is that enough for JT Miller and Elias Pettersson? The answer is no. Who can we potentially throw on to entice this team? Pasternak, without question, not an option. Marchand, not an option. Lindholm doesn't feel like an option. The math would just not be mathing. You could know these too expensive. I would say the price isn't there. You could throw in Charlie Cole. I don't think the assets are there. I just don't see it's clearly imaginably possible unless they gave up Pasternak. And that, my friends, is not happening. We'll stop the unrealisticness right there. That's not happening. But again, you're asking for Pettersson and Miller. I mean, that's going to happen. So let's just talk JT Miller. We know that's the one that they want to get rid of. We know Boston inquired about both, kind of a courtesy call, like just in case, like, hey, any chance PD's calling some waves over there? I'd be calling and checking too. I might get hung up on, but I'd be calling too. Let's just talk JT Miller. If you're the Boston Bruins, you have 7 years left on Lindholm's contract. Is Lindholm alone enough? To me, it does not make sense to go center for center unless, again, you are that worried about getting rid of your guy. But maybe you look and say, how about Lindholm? Similar contract structure, does need to go up a little bit more. Vancouver does not. Boston over the league maximum salary cap. It's Boston I need more. Let's talk about Lindholm. Maybe a little bit more disposable. Maybe you don't want to trade away the entire future just for one guy. But you know what we can do? We can work with you guys a little bit. You're going to need a center, probably, right? Still going to need one of those. What can we do for you here in that department? Key friends? Happy to help. Gonna need to throw something else on. Lindholm, Frederick for JT Miller. Now the question becomes, what are you willing to wheel and deal? It's gonna take a first. Is a first enough for JT Miller? No. Would you do it if you're the Bruins? Knowing the defense you have, knowing the players you have, I would say that's up for debate. What if we throw in a second round draft pick? A first, a second, Frederick and Lindholm for JT Miller would not get the job done. Vancouver playing hard to get for a guy they want to get off their team. I think in real life, if somebody walked up to them and said, hey, we'll give you 2 firsts, Lindholm and Frederick, do you think they would possibly actually turn that down? Or is this just EA being EA? I don't think they turn it down. I really don't. We'll throw in a second, see what it is. They're still going to reject it. Now we're getting unrealistic. Even on easy trade difficulty, EA wants the house for a locker room player that they just are not happy with. That's on the other side of 30 on a long-term contract in exchange for a younger defenseman. They are not doing it. EA says we are not budging on JT Miller. I'm going to do this. I'm going to force this trade and see what happens. Because EA's not going to come play ball. Sometimes they get stuck on the players in this game and they ain't going to play ball. We're going to look at this trade. You guys can be the judge of what we're sending here and if this is enough or not enough. Lindholm's not younger. I don't know what I was talking about. He is 30. You're going to get Lindholm. You're going to get, did I call him Travis? Travis Frederick, Cowboy legend. Trent Frederick. You're going to get him in return as well, the 26-year-old. I don't know. I think you want a little bit more if you're Vancouver still. Just because of the offensive output. And you know that first round, I don't know. They're trying to wheel and deal him. And trying to get rid of him and move on from him. I don't know. I don't know if you get much more than that than getting a real ready to plug and play defenseman. Let's see what else Boston has to potentially offer these guys. That we could, try to accept and say, you know what, that is realistic. Would they give up Lindholm and, Lindholm? I was like Lindholm and Lindholm. That's not going to work in a cap. I think Frederick's the guy. 26 years young, solid depth player. Got to have those two. Would you go 2 first though? Should we say 2 first-round draft picks? Boston has to send this guy out the door. That would be the trade, the hypothetical trade. 2 first. Again, it's Boston. They're gonna be like the 25th overall pick anyway. 2 first-round draft picks for Lindholm and Frederick for 6 years of JT Miller. They're not gonna take it. We already told you no, but we're gonna send this and we're gonna see what happens. What's kind of crazy about all this is these two teams are wheeling and dealing, and neither one's going to lose their number 1 or their number 2, right? They're going to keep Hughes and Pettersson. They're going to keep Pasternak and McAvoy. Just a testament to how good these teams' rosters really are. We're moving guys around like this, but now you're talking JT, Marchand, Pasternak on the first unit, Zacha, Lindholm, Coyle on the second. But do we see, is Zacha the better center? I feel like Zacha's got the better draws. Does he not? Where's the faceoffs at? Oh, it's over here. No, they're the same. Okay, I was gonna say Zacha. Would you keep him there? Would you put Zacha up on the first unit? Right now they're kind of splitting these guys up, trying to spread the depth around a little bit, possibly. Defense: McAvoy, Zadorov, Carl. I mean, they're still pretty solid on the top 4. The bottom 2, Blue Jackets legend Andrew Peeke and Osterley. Yeah, how's that gonna turn out? We will see. Meanwhile, we go and take a look at the Vancouver Canucks. Are we allowed to look at the Vancouver Canucks? I don't think we are on season mode, actually. Vancouver's going to walk away with I don't know if I want to say a much better defense. Here we go. What's Boston got for us? 1 season, bringing on over a predominant goal scorer, a point-producing machine, JT Miller, here to spark this offense. And the real question is, and what would JT say? Would JT be playing with Pasternak? Would you still see Pasternak kind of playing by himself? Because Pasternak is the driver of the ship. Pasternak does not need these other players. Sure, they're going to be dominant, they're going to play better, but Pasternak's the kind of guy that can carry solid players around him and bring them up. And maybe you say JT and Marchand are the guys together. I don't know if that works as well. I don't know if that's the kind of combination. Maybe it would be Marchand and Pasternak. JT's on his own line. That does feel like something that would make more sense. I mean, if you're Boston, where are you putting him? Y'all know your roster a lot better than I do. Something about JT and Brad don't seem like that would mesh. Nonetheless, Boston playing some good hockey, 17-13. Not a President's win or something they like to do a lot of, but they are right there in the thick of things, third place in the division, holding pretty strong there. Not quite falling down to a wild card spot. They're very competitive. They just did fall down to a wild card spot. Got to make sure they keep on winning the games they need to win. Lost to the Panthers, lost to the Lightning. Both, I was gonna say both at home, just the one at home. 2 on the road, then they went back home to play the Lightning. Still sitting at 26-20. It is going to be a tight season. A little losing streak, and the Boston Bruins will still find themselves just outside of playoffs, and they will find themselves very much questioning the trade and acquisition of JT Miller. I still wonder, longevity-wise, again, I say this, Boston they're just known for being good defensively. It seems like they can develop and do whatever they have to do defensively. So when you can bring in another 4, it just feels like not a bad idea if you're the Boston Bruins. Now, EA's not going to agree with this. Boston's just hanging on to a playoff spot right now. Impressively. Must be a weaker conference. They are now out of the playoffs. They are now falling to pieces. Boston is not even going to make the playoffs. Acquiring JT Miller. That trade fell on its face in a big way. 38-36 for the Boston Bruins. Vancouver, on the other hand, is going to make the playoffs. Vancouver, very happy with what they got. Boston left up a little bit short. Pasternak dropped 100 points. We see 99. And JT, he did put up plus 13. Maybe they just needed a little bit more. Potentially the loss of the top defenseman hurt them a little bit as well. We go on over to look at the Vancouver Canucks, how the production looked. Vancouver, 94 out of Petey, 81 out of Hughes, 79 out of Bell. I mean, just look at this team. Up and down. They had so much talent already. You see where they're like, oh, we'll be all right with that. Lindholm plus 10, 39 points. Big addition to the team. They had enough firepower across the board still to put up the numbers in Vancouver. Now we're seeing that. Boston, on the other hand, 84 points. Really only ended up a point, 2 points, really, because they was losing in the road department. It was only two wins away. One in overtime from making playoffs. Weak conference. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, you got the Vancouver Canucks, 112 points, 54 wins, 24 losses, 3.38 goals for per game, 2.9 goals against. Edmonton pouring the points on 4.10. And we'll check real quickly. Can the Vancouver Canucks make that push in the playoffs with their newly acquired talented players? We will look very quickly. Right now, it's 1-1. Series is split over there against the Vegas Golden Knights. We are not going to get an update. I guess that was not going to happen. They are going to go to the second round. Vancouver will go to the second round. 2-2 series split against the Nashville Predators. Feels like a favorable matchup. If you're the Vancouver Canucks, 3-3 series is split. They're going to go to a game number 7. Here we go. What does Vancouver have for us? They have a loss. It's going to be Avalanche. It's going to be Predators in the conference finals. Vancouver will not advance any further. And that is going to wrap things up for this video. As always, if you all enjoyed it, I'd appreciate you liking, subscribing. You never have to. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.